It's wonderful to be with all of you and to talk about the absolutely critical importance of freedom of the press and the public's right to know. It's how we make decisions everywhere. I see the media as a huge kitchen table that stretches across the globe, that we all sit around and debate and discuss the most important issues of the day: war and peace, life and death. And anything less than that is a disservice to a democratic society. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about where I originally come from. How many of you have ever heard of Democracy Now! And democracynow.org? That's fantastic, and for those of you who are not raising your hands, now you know. It's on 1,400 public television and radio stations around the United States and around the world. You can check it out at democracynow.org. It's a grassroots, global, unembedded, independent, international investigative news hour. Now, I originally began, though that's on television and radio, and we just did our broadcast today from UNESCO right before my talk. I originally began on Pacifica Radio, which was founded more than 60 years ago in Berkeley, California. A man who was a war resistor came out of the detention camps out of World War II and said there's got to be a media outlet that's not run by corporations that profit from war, but run by journalists and artists. And that's how Pacifica was born. The first station, KPFA in Berkeley, not run by corporations, as George Gerbner, the late dean of the Annenberg School of Communications at the University of Pennsylvania, would say, not run by corporations that have nothing to tell and everything to sell that are raising our children today. So the Pacifica Network was born. First station, 1949 in Berkeley, California, then Los Angeles, 59, New York, my station in New York, WBAI, Washington, D.C., 1977, and KPFT in Houston. KPFT, Houston, Texas, where the hurricane just drowned that city, the Petro Metro. In 1970, when KPFT went on the air, within a few weeks, it's the only radio station in the United States whose transmitter was blown up. It was blown up by the Ku Klux Klan. When the radio station got back on their feet and rebuilt the transmitter, a few weeks later, the Klan strapped 10 times the dynamite to the base of the transmitter and blew it up again, right in the middle of Arlo Guthrie singing Alice's Restaurant, which I thought was a good song. But anyway, it took them months to get back on their feet, and when they did, all the media was there showing this station, this phoenix was rising from the ashes. In January of 1971, Arlo Guthrie came back in to finish his song on the air, and KPFT has been broadcasting ever since. Now, I can't remember if it was the Grand Dragon or the Exalted Cyclops, because I often confuse their titles, the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan, but he said it was his proudest act. And I think that's because he understood how dangerous independent media is. Dangerous because it allows people to speak for themselves. And when you hear someone speaking from their own experience, whether it is a Palestinian child or an Israeli grandmother, whether it's a native elder in the Standing Rock Sioux tribe in North Dakota or an uncle in Afghanistan, you begin to understand where they are coming from. I didn't say agree with it. I mean, how often do we even agree with our family members? But you understand. It makes it much less likely that you'll want to destroy another person. It's that understanding that is the beginning of peace. I think the media can be the greatest force for peace on earth. Instead, all too often, it is wielded as a weapon of war, which is why we have to take the media back.